Miss North Dakota is Miss America, and interestingly, one of the questions of the top 5 was about football and concussions, and would you allow or should there be legislation that bans football for high school and under? Interesting. Yeah, it was one of the final questions in Miss America in Atlantic City last night. Concussion specialist Dr. Sally Fryer-Dietz. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm pleased to have you on the show. We've talked about concussions in sports and football and all the others. There is a new football helmet called 01. Are you familiar with what they're doing at that company?
I am not familiar with that particular helmet.
It's fascinating. I watched the video of it and the shock and all the things they're trying to do. They say, listen, we can't stop concussions. We can lessen severity. And it was, I just, at some point, all you concussion people could look at that and say, it might be better, but. I mean, there's always going to be a but here because hitting your head against a wall is never a good idea, correct?
Well, that's correct. And what people need to realize is that a helmet really does not prevent a concussion. It does prevent having a skull fracture, and it gives some protection, but helmets are not a guarantee that you're not going to have a concussion.
What's changed? Is it the physics of everybody getting bigger, stronger, faster, and more severities, or a knowledge that it happens or it's always been happening?
I think it's always been happening. I think it's probably a combination of those things. We certainly have way more information today than we used to, and a lot of the problems with our players, the NFL players who have gotten older, who are suffering from a lot of the problems that they've had in the past, was because they were playing without the knowledge that these concussions could hurt them long term. So we do know that now.
No, but I mean, now it's like you could go to all of the NFL players, all the college players. You can say, hey, you know what? This can do this. There's CTE. Have you seen the movie Concussion? This is the modern day gladiator. I mean, the money can be so big that people, I think, are willing to say, for the financial security, and I love the game, I'm going to play.
Well, if you look at how many people make it to that level, there's not a whole lot in comparison to the number of kids and individuals that are actually playing. So, there are risks to everything that we do in life, and adults certainly have the right to make that choice, for themselves. Mm-hmm. But, I think the real question is how do we protect our kids and set people up for having as healthy of lives as they can have.
Yeah. Dr. Sally Fryer-Dietz, she's a concussion specialist and type of doctor. What type of doctor, Sally?
I'm actually a doctor of physical therapy.
Okay.
So we have a pediatric clinic and concussion rehab clinic. So we work with kids and adults of all ages with all different kinds of things.
Not just football. You're talking hockey and mixed martial arts and soccer and boxing, wrestling, right? All that. Rugby?
Absolutely. And there are certain sports that, the main thrust where they're put in a situation where there's a lot of risk to the head, and those are the ones that we certainly worry about the most and want to make sure that we've got rules and coaches that are watching out for that. But with every sport, even cheerleading, there are lots of incidences of concussion. So not one sport can be isolated from the rest.
What would you have us do? I mean, I guess being aware is good, but it's just not reasonable, I think, at this point for people to say, let's ban football. I probably, first of all, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and, you're correct. It's a cultural shift. And, nobody's going to want to go for, there's a lot of good things about football. It's fun to watch and to engage in, and again, the real question becomes with our kids who are developing: do we want to put them into situations that are very, very high risk for injury and long-term impact? You're talking about your brain that allows you to think and process and do information, and if you have a much greater risk as a child of getting injured in those kinds of situations, then maybe we really do need to rethink at least how kids are playing the game and what our goals are for them. Most of them aren't going to grow up to be professional football players. So if we want them to grow up and be functional human adults, how can we set them up to get all the benefits of organized sports and some of these, riskier sports even, without the increased risk of getting injured and having long-term damage as a result?
But the headers in soccer, when people head the ball, that's not good, is it?
You're absolutely correct. In fact, we see more soccer players, more girls soccer, than we do even football in our clinics.
It's just really something. But then I watched the University of Illinois soccer match a few weeks ago, and I saw, the keeper kicked the ball 50 yards. I mean, it was way down the field, and bam, somebody put it on their head, and I said, that just can't be good.
Right.
Yeah, nope, it's not good.
All right, Sally, how do people find Dr. Sally Fryer Dietz? How do they find your clinic?
So we have we're in Dallas, Texas. We have a website, concussion-therapy.com. We have lots of information on there about concussions and how to be safe and what treatments are available. And it's Dallas, Texas.
Right.
Integrative Concussion Therapy.
Thanks for your time. Nice meeting you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Dr. Sally Fryer Dietz.